Welcome back to Commanders Training Camp 2022. We have the fans, we have the football, and it is all happening here at the team's practice facility in Ashburn. Everybody's excited for the return of football and the first training camp as the Commanders. Well, the players there are back, including running back Antonio Gibson. AG hit the 1,000-yard mark the first time last season, and he's going to be stopping by the set to talk about that accomplishment and what he expects from himself this year. Santana and Logan Paulson, they have your field pass. The guys head down to the field to watch practice and talk us through what they are seeing. And today, they are dialing in on the wide receiving core. Linebacker Jamin Davis is heading into his sophomore season. How does the former first-round pick elevate his game in year number 2? And how does he fit into Jack Del Rio's defensive scheme? It's the closest you can get to camp without actually being here. And we're bringing it all to you right now on Command Center, camp coverage presented by the inaugural Commanders Fan Cruise, setting sail in March 2023. Stay tuned for details on how to seize your spot. Let's get it going. And you are looking at Washington Commanders training camp at the park here in Ashburn, Virginia. And we have lots of folks on out and taking a look at the quarterbacks. And of course, Carson Wentz, as he is expected to lead the offense this season as our starter, hopefully offering some stability at that position. Welcome on in, Julie Donaldson, joined by Santana Moss and Logan Paulson. Okay, day one is in the books. As Carson said, you kind of get those goosebumps coming back. Head coach Ron Rivera talking about the excitement. And Santana, it's not just the players that are excited. I mean, you feel the energy. Anybody coming here working security, equipment, they're all kind of pumped to have football back.
I mean, we were just talking about it, coming down that little walkway, the famous walkway to the stadium, I mean, to the field. The fans, one thing you hear the fans, but you see all the workers that's just happy to be back out here. So it's good to have that atmosphere, though.
Biggest takeaway from day one?
I think, defense is, it's one day, so everyone take a deep breath, but defense is a little bit ahead of the offense. That's to be expected. Some chemistry issues with the quarterback, wide receiver, but that's all understandable. It's so early in the process.
All right, let's talk to some of the storylines here after day one. Again, it is very early, but we are officially back. And, well, the biggest storyline that we are talking about is, hey, Terry Mclord. He's back. He got a big contract. And on the field, we have yet to have seen him during the offseason and OTAs and minicamp. He was holding out until he got that contract extension in Washington. In sync with Carson early on?
I mean, I think they're working through some chemistry issues, like trying to identify what each one does well. But yeah, it's good to see them both out there getting those reps, and that's really important.
And then, of course, Terry, one of the receivers with Wentz was working with, talked about the new QB, the development chemistry with his wideouts. Easy to get that chemistry early on?
I think it's going to be easy. I'm not going to sit here and just say it's going to be easy, but I think one of the things about a quarterback, you have to adjust, and he's a veteran, so he's going to make the right, adjustments and make sure he finds those guys when they're open.
And then you mentioned defense, Logan. They made some plays out there on Wednesday. How you feeling about Del Rio's group?
I mean, I feel really good. I feel like they're a little bit ahead in terms of their install, and that's always good that they're putting more stuff in and getting more confident with that.
Yeah.
I mean, we all know what we're working for. We're not going to act like we don't think about it. We understand that the goal is to win the division and move on through the playoffs. But before you can get to that goal, you got to work at what's ahead of you. We understand we got to take it day by day. You can't worry about the playoffs, even though that is the main goal. Or not the main goal, one of our goals to accomplish what we want to accomplish, and that's winning the Super Bowl. But you don't get there, you don't get to your goals by focusing on your goal every day. You get to your goals by every day, you take another step forward, you continue to grind and focus on the task at hand.
And I feel confident in myself. I feel belief in myself from the people around me, which means a lot. It is unique. It's a unique business. You're 1 year here, 1 year there, and you try to, you have your sights set on long term wherever you are. But, God has different plans sometimes, and try and make the most of it. Try and make the most of it and just keep plugging along. And I got an awesome wife and kids that, they pick up, and here we are, and we're going to fully invest in this city and this team and the people around us, and try and make the most of it for, God willing, hopefully a long time. And, it definitely brings about some different life circumstances that I think a lot of people don't understand within a family dynamic, but it's also fun. It's also fun. It's part of the adventure for my family and I, and we're loving it.
These first few days, everything's going to be, high energy. I mean, like today's practice was only 90 minutes. They had a lot of energy, and we'll ramp it up gradually. We'll get into the shells and then into the pads, and the next 7 days. But what's happening right now is our guys are just working through the beginning. They're going to be optimistic and excited. But again, then reality will set in a little bit.
Let's get a little bit deeper into some of these storylines here. Look, we talk a lot about the excitement, but head coach Ron Rivera says soon we're going to be talking about the grind, because that's exactly what it is. This is just the beginning of what is a very long season and a long process to even get to the season in training camp. The process for you guys, do you remember that? And I know we're kind of talking about how it's kind of different for certain guys as they come into camp.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, so for me, every day was like my Super Bowl, like, because I had to make the team. You know, a guy like Tana is here, he's going to make the roster, he's very confident in that. So every day I tried to be as up as I possibly could. And I had markers for myself. Day one, obviously first day of pads was a big day, and then the first off day. So just had to kind of make that first off day and make sure my intensity was high the whole time.
And I like the way that Logan kind of stated that a guy like myself might have that mindset, but I didn't have that mindset. I felt that every day was a day that I was being tested by, because you have to put good stuff on film. And I know as you bringing in new receivers, whether you're free agency or draft, so I'm not going to slip, because I'm not going to let no one younger than me or someone who just came in to think that they can have my spot. So I work my behind off too, but at the end of the day, all these guys have that mindset of we have to make the team.
And you have like the Terry Mclord, which we know he's your number one guy. You know that's you're going to throw the ball to. Jahan Dotson coming in here. You know the expectation that he's going to come in and have a quick role. Curtis Samuel and all of that. So we know kind of where the top guys are. And then this is a chance for some of those guys at the bottom end of the depth to really make an impression. But this is also the first time we did get to see Terry, because he was holding out earlier before. He had some great catches, and you got to see the speed, the depth, and being able to take advantage of that arm that they've been wanting for quite a while since Ron Rivera got here, to be able to stretch that field. What was the big impression on day one from Terry?
It was just Terry being Terry. You know, we saw a couple of catches that he just know how to twerk his body and find a way to come down with the ball. I saw a couple of times when he was wide open and the ball was thrown short or low, he slid and made the catch. Terry is a professional. He makes sure he get the job done. I'm not worried about what I see first day, because everybody's trying to get back into the rhythm of things. And like Ron said, everybody's going to be anxious and you know, have that kind of energy. So when things slow down, I just want to see those guys consistently building on that process.
I think that's a great point. The other thing that I noticed is that Kendall Fuller and him had a really nice competition yesterday. They were being very competitive with each other. Kendall Fuller was kind of in his pocket at times, and you love to see that. You love to see guys who know each other really well being competitive with each other and making each other better. So that was awesome to see the first day.
And Coach Rivera was even saying, like, he saw one where Terry and Carson linked and another one where they did not. But the biggest thing he saw from that as well is they were communicating with each other. The value of that, of saying, Terry saying, you know what, I cut too early and this is the reason why. And really just trying to figure out, as even Carson was saying, to understand the different body language and the different things that you know, so you can learn where your receiver's going to be and how to get to them and work through that. That's what training camp's all for. On the defensive side of the ball, Logan, you were saying that they came out a little bit to an earlier start. That's standard, expected, basically, of a defense. But what are you expecting as they kind of grow into, like, what are you wanting to see from them as we get further into camp?
Yeah, I think the big thing for that group is just the depth of the group, right? I think you've got a nice, solid 11 starters, guys you feel comfortable going into Sunday with, but I think it's the guys that are going to back those spots up. Who's going to flesh those groups out? Safety, linebacker, who's your fourth defensive tackle? Those are all questions that need to be answered. Obviously, Chase is going to miss the first half of the season. Who's the fourth defensive end that's going to come into that rotation while Chase is gone? So those are all questions you need to see answered. That's what training camp's all about. Looking forward to get those questions answered.
And that's one of the things that that stand out to me. You know, you want to see those guys who's going to be the starters, but you're always looking for those guys who's going to make the team behind those guys. So that's going to be one of the storylines that we, watch grow week after week in the preseason.
As Doug Williams said yesterday, on paper, this team looks really good. It's always right now. It's on paper. We've heard that plenty of times. It's got to go through it. One of the guys that also has a lot of expectations, and last year put on a lot of good work on the field, is out of Antonio Gibson, getting 1,000 yards. Well, he stopped by the set yesterday and had a conversation with these two. It is our Pepsi player profile. Pepsi, the official soft drink of the Washington Commanders. Check it out.
All right, here with one of the most explosive running backs in the NFL, AG himself. Man, first day of training camp, how'd it feel?
It felt good. Good to see the guys, finally back together and, to seeing the work we put in the offseason, finally putting it together.
Yeah, man. And so, one of the things you did this offseason is you said you lost a little bit of weight.
Yeah.
Do you feel that on hot days like this? Because I know when I gained weight, I always felt like crap out there.
I don't know if you technically feel it, but you feel a little faster, a little lighter in the ass. Regardless, it's hot, but definitely helps out in the long run.
When I was playing, I was one of those guys too that tried to dilly-dally with the weight, especially later down the road in my career. Do you feel a difference from how you once carried weight to now when you lose a little bit?
Definitely. I wouldn't say it's too much of a change, but even from going from probably 233 to 230, or 230 to 228, you start to feel like a little lighter, and some of your bursts be a little quicker and things like that.
So far as playing your position, because I remember Portis, being lighter in college, and then he said, "10, I had to pad up a little bit because he changed his game and the style he played. Portis was a flasher. He was one of those guys, a scat backs, type in college, but he got into the league. He was banging heads, you know what I mean? So do you look at it and say, look, I have to keep a little bit of that on me, just knowing that I want to be able to do both. You have the speed, you can carry it well. Do you want to keep most of that stuff so you can be able to, go between tackles and not have to feel the effects?
Definitely. I feel like, the more size you put on, people bouncing off of you, and then the smaller you get, you start to feel that. So I feel like I carry it well. I still can keep my speed and still explosive. I can still move, I can still get out there and run routes. So, I feel like I carry it real well.
Is your role going to change in this offense now that Robinson's here, or have the coaches kind of said you're going to be doing the same stuff you were last year? You're our guy. You obviously out in practice, you're getting the 1 reps, all that kind of thing.
That's not up to me. You know what I'm saying? It's training camp started, so we'll see how that goes and how that goes into its preseason, into the season. But for right now, it's just do my role. When they put me out there, I'm gonna do my job, and when he's out there, he's gonna do his job, and we look good right now.
Since Logan got to it, and I wasn't gonna ask the question, but being a receiver, his new guys coming in every year. You get 2 or 3 guys, and I was always one of those guys. I embraced the competition. Yeah. How does that feel, knowing that you have a guy capable of being that number 1 guy, but you've just made a name for yourself? I mean, from day one, since you've been here as a rookie, you pretty much went out there and solidified that position for us. Bringing a guy in that's going to probably take a little bit off your plate, because you don't have to be out there all the time to still be productive. How do you feel having a guy like that coming in with you?
To add on to the team, you love it, but at the same time, as athletes, we like to compete. And, I don't mind it at all, regardless of what people say. I love to compete. Somebody pushing you, that makes you better, it makes him better, and it makes the team better. So I don't mind it at all.
Gotcha.
So
absolutely, man. And then, so with regards to your personal goals for developing as a running back, do you set any kind of pre-camp, and what are they if you do?
Goals, I feel like I've been barely touching that 1,000. I'm trying to surpass that. It's about that time. It's my 3rd year in the league. I feel like I'm comfortable. I'm ready. Hit the season going. From week 1 to the end of the season. I
was going to ask about that 1,000-yard season you had last year. What is the off season like after having a season like that? Because I remember having that season, and folks want to parade you and talk highly on you, but in your head, you like, man, I got to do this again. Yeah, sure. So how was this off season, knowing that you want to feel that, have that same feeling going forward?
Everybody was like, oh, it's a big accomplishment, but at the same time, it's like, if we being honest, I touched it the last game. I wasn't comfortable with that. I dealt with injuries, and I dealt with whatever I had to do throughout the season. So, I'm just trying to be comfortable with myself, truthful to myself. I'm not trying to have it at the last game.
But at least you broke the ice. You broke the ice, though.
I ain't trying to fight for it. So.
I feel you, but you broke the ice, so it's good to get it behind you, though, right?
Yeah. Obviously, you're one of the most explosive dudes on the team, just from combine numbers. But one of the things that's challenging about playing the running back position is that vision. How do you improve that? Is that coaching? Is that reps? What's your process in getting better in that area?
Reps is the biggest thing. Getting the different looks, because people switch up every week. So reps is the biggest thing to me, but at the same time, you can also work on it. I got some work out there in Houston with my trainer, KB.
Okay.
And we had a little light set up, and it's reaction time. So if that light's green, you go inside or outside, or you go right or left, and it's difficult at first, but once you get used to it, start getting quicker, and it gets easier.
Yeah.
Since your guy just peeked in here, give us some stuff that we don't know about this old
Coach Jordan
right here, Coach Jordan, man. He was one of my favorite coaches when I was here, and he's still here. So I'm happy you got a chance to be coached up by him.
The man, we was just talking about video games. The man can play video games.
What?
It shocked me. We went over his crib, and him and JD got on the game. And he the first was kickoff return, and you could tell somebody
not. He still got his youth in him, huh?
Then he took one for 60 yards. He took one for 60 yards. I was like, what?
It's because he's got the kids, man. He's got to be up to date on the games.
Oh, man, that's what's up, man. That's what's up.
Absolutely, man. Hey, dude, good luck this season, man. Thank you so much for spending the time with us, man, and we're expecting big things from you.
Appreciate you.
No doubt, man. Appreciate you.
You love to see, first off, that just the way that they enjoy each other.
Yeah.
Coach Randy Jordan with the guys as well. But let's take a look at Antonio Gibson's numbers right here. Had over 1,000 yards last season, and of course found the end zone as well with 10 times he got in there. He doesn't like to be considered that wide receiver turned running back these days. He wants to be considered that running back, but you have to talk about how they're going to use him this year, because one of the things that they were slowly progressing as he was making that transition is to get him more into the passing game. But early on, they were really focusing on him just running the ball. What are you anticipating his role being this year coming up, Logan?
I mean, I think he is a true runner now. I think that's what he's progressing towards. I think the idea with him is that he's not an elite route runner the way like a DJ Mckissick is. He's more of a guy that is, you get the ball to him in space and he can make something happen, right? He does well with space. He also does well run the football. So I think that's what I'd expect. Screens, little quick passes, nothing that relies too heavily on route running nuance, and lets him just be a physical runner.
Yeah, I expect him just to be that guy. He's a ball player.
Yeah.
You know, when you look at it, and you know, when we first got him, I thought it was going to be a little Swiss Army knife, going to be able to do a lot. And he's just been dominant in the backfield. And you know, we can talk about some of the things that he didn't do well, or some of the things that he did well. But I think he's a true student of the game. And just listening to him yesterday, he said some things that just made me realize that he's just not satisfied with 1,000 yards. He wants more. And when you have a guy that's determined to go out there and give you more, you look out for him.
Well, he's going to have to share the ball a little bit as well. A lot more weapons on offense than we had last season. One of them coming in the third round is they drafted Brian Robinson Jr. out of Alabama. And man, this guy is a pounder. Like, he is going to grind through those yards, a very tough running back. And that's something that they were also wanting Antonio to do last year, is really fight for those extra few yards down the middle, use his size and that aggressiveness with it. But Robinson comes in. How does he fit into this system?
I think he's a perfect fit. I mean, I think like one of the things about this system, it's very like tight zone based. So like thinking like right behind the guards is where you're running the football. And when you watch him in Alabama, he did an excellent job of that. He just understands how to set that run up, understands how to manipulate blocks. And you know, he might not be the fastest guy, but he is a physical runner. And I think his vision is something that makes him very, very special. So I think he'll be a nice complementary piece to Gibson, but I think Gibson's the guy.
Yeah, he's scary watching him, just knowing that he's all around. He's a complete back also. You know, he's a guy that he likes to thug with you. He know how to find the right hole, and he can get behind those guys and make every yard count. The one thing I love about it is that you saw in certain games when we needed a guy to spill, Gibson, we didn't have that pounder. We didn't have that guy that had the same vision or that had the same ability. Now we do.
And J.D. Mckissick, let's talk about him as well. As there was a moment where we all thought he was gone, moving out to Buffalo, but nope. He wanted to stay here. They wanted to keep him here. It's just working through, I guess, the way the whole contracts and the monies go. But J.D. Mckissick coming back, he's the kind of guy that has really developed into more. Many people thought he was just kind of like that scat back. But he's shown that he has more ability to do that. Dealt with a little bit of injury towards the end part of the season. Santana, what do you like about his game and what he brings?
Well, I was surprised because when we first got him, I thought he was just a receiver that they turned into a back. And then when you watch him in the backfield, sometimes you're like, why are we not giving him more opportunities? This guy finds the hole. He know how to run behind his blocks, and he just make plays. You know, last year, you got to think about it. When things drop in our offense, when it comes to yards and the way we put the ball in the end zone, he wasn't playing. So, you know, just having him back is big for our offense. It's tremendous for our offense. But then when you put the added guys around him, you're just like, hey, man, we going to have a chance to really pick our poison with who we want to exploit and who we want to, have those days for. I think I love it when you have a guy like him in the backfield because he's already showing you that I don't need much. Just give me my due. And he knows he's have these two guys that's capable of going out there and playing every down. But he knows he's going to get his opportunity as well.
I was telling Coach Jordan yesterday, I said, man, I am so excited to see this unit come together. And he had the excitement and the thrill on his face, too, was like, he goes, I have good options to work with, and how they're complemented by a lot of the guys in the receiving core, the tight ends and everything. Like, you can just tell that they are pumped to get this offense up and running in a way that they haven't been able to do in quite a few years. Well, you can come out and see the running backs yourself in our open practice on August 6th. It's going to be at FedEx Field. Head coach Ron Rivera will address everybody in attendance and is opening it up for all of you to come and see. We will be there as well. So head on over to commander.com for more information and to get your free tickets. And don't go anywhere because Logan and Santana are heading down to the practice field. And when we come back, they talk us through what they are watching with the wide receivers. This is Command Center Camp coverage. We will only be away for 60 seconds and you'll get to see practice the entire time.
This one's for every NFL fan whose fan cave is more like a fan corner of a guest room closet. You've compromised enough. Pepsi Zero Sugar.
You fired up the grill for one hot dog? Seriously?
Hot dogs, better with Pepsi.
Welcome back to Command Center camp coverage presented by the inaugural Commanders Fan Cruise, setting sail in March 2023. Stay tuned for details on how to seize your spot. Now, you are looking at exclusive coverage of practice here in Ashburn. Excited to be able to bring it to you, and fans are loving it. So tweet us, hashtag us, HTTC, and let us know what you were thinking, what you were seeing. Sending birthday wishes out there. Everybody excited for Terry Mclord, the tight end group getting there. I know Logan's been keeping a close eye on those. John Bates coming out as well. So keep feeding us, keep watching, keep tuning in, and keep showing us and telling us what you want to see so we can make sure we bring it to you. Hey, it's time now for your Field Pass presented by FedEx, where now meets next. And Logan and Santana have made their way down to the practice field today, and they're keeping an eye on the wide receivers. All right, guys, what you got going on? What are you seeing?
Thanks, Julie. We're down here with Routes on Air again today, and I think one of the things that I wanted to ask you, Tana, is who are your top 5 wide receivers? And I think when you watch this drill, you get a really good indication of who those guys are, because it's the guys Carson Wentz is throwing to.
Yeah, and then one of the things I look at is just I normally go from the guys who've been here, so who had experience.
Yep.
They would be the guys that would be topping the list. So I guess the first 3 is like the obvious: Terry, Samuels, Dotson, and then you look at the next 2 guys would be anywhere from De'Ami Brown, and to me, 89. I think he's been here, he's been productive. Yep. He should be a guy, but you can't leave out Dax. I think Dax, first year guy, he's that borderline 5'6" guy. So I want to see all those guys have a chance, but those are my 5 that I for sure think should have a shot.
Yeah, and I'm really glad you brought Dax up, because he was out here catching punts earlier, and that's how that 6th guy is going to make the spot, right? And you return punts. How important is that for those kind of flushing out those bottom of the roster receiver groups?
The more you can do, man,
right,
the more they'll have you around doing. So that's one of the things that I was taught as a young guy playing this game. If you can do more for a team, you stay around longer. And when you think about playing this position, it's not only about going out there running routes, catching balls. It's that guy who's going to go out there and lay on the line and make that key block for the running back to spring one loose. I remember my rookie year, Wayne Corbett said he gets more gratification after making a touchdown block than he does a touchdown
love
catch.
That, man.
And that stayed with me throughout my career. So I would go out and lay it on the line. Not saying that was the first time I did it. I've been doing it all my career, but I took more emphasis and made sure I did it because I felt like that was a way to stay around and be on the team.
And you need guys like that. And you mentioned Cam Sims, and Cam Sims obviously a very different body type, but also does the dirty work. How important is it having a guy with a different skill set?
Yeah.
Playing receiver, you've got kind of these smaller guys, and you got Cam, who's like 6'6".
He's the rare breed we have right now. Yeah. He's the one guy that we can count on and say that has the height and that has showed production. Using his height, using his hands, being one of those guys that when we called on him, he can go out there and produce. So I think he has an advantage at that point. But you know how we know you got to go out here and make plays. So the more plays you make, the more times they call your number.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love this right now. You got Scott Turner kind of working through progressions here with Carson. That's so important, right? Even in this drill, to kind of visualize what the quarterback's supposed to be seeing, where his eyes should be going. Look, center of the field with the eyes, ball to Terry, kind of manipulating that coverage. Because you've talked about this a million times. Having a quarterback that can manipulate coverage helps you out.
It's big time. I mean, one of the things that a lot of folks take for granted until you see some of these guys go out there and have the stellar years that they have is the quarterback makes us. So if he's getting the ball to me on time, when I don't have to come out of my break and look at him throwing to me, that gives me more time to react to the ball. And then now that defender is definitely beaten. You know what I mean? Most of the time when you see a guy, still in his progressions, looking and then trying to throw you the ball, 9 times out of 10, you're not open. So it's great to have a guy that that can do that. And it actually amps you up a little more and, puts your game to the next level.
And I think the other thing is it protects you as a receiver.
Yeah.
If the quarterback knows how to manipulate safeties with their eyes, he puts you in a better spot, right? Great catch by 83 right there. I love that. Doubt. And so, having a guy that can do that is awesome. And I think that's something we got to keep an eye on. Again, here's Jahan running the route. And I love the nuances of his route running, right? He's using his eyes, using his hand, he's selling stuff. He's playing chess when everyone else is playing.
I don't want to get too high on this kid, man, because it's like the effort, everything he does effortless. It's just the way he runs, the way he comes out his break. It's too natural. It's almost like, watching a guy who's been doing this 4 or 5 years in this league already. So I'm not gonna get too high. I'm not gonna be that guy that hang on this what's. But I'm looking for big things from him because I just see it already.
Yeah, and there again, Scott Turner is coaching up the tight ends on the release that he wants. They've got a 9 technique right now with a linebacker with inside leverage, working the footwork, working the timing, because all these routes have timing, and it's so much different when you're running it against defense. So it's nice that the coaches get out there, kind of give you a look at what it's actually going to look like in real life.
Yeah, because routes on air, you can just run that route and turn around, the ball should be there. But when you have a guy in front of you, now you have to adjust and know I got to put my hands up, I got to get around him, and then I got to still get my head around and see the ball.
Yeah, absolutely. And now this is like they just blew the whistle. They're going to work into the team drills. And so what I'm going to say is that this is where practice kind of starts heating up. Awesome to watch one-on-ones, a lot of information there. So that's Routes on Air from the field. Great insight from Santana Moss. But that's it for today. Check it out tomorrow.
Good stuff, guys. Come back on up. Show's not over. We have more to get to. Now, for everything you need to know about the team and what is happening at training camp, do not miss Command Center. You can see every episode on our YouTube channel and on commanders.com. You can also check us out on NBC Sports Washington weekdays 5:30 and 10 p.m. When we come back, we are going to the defensive side of the ball. Jamin Davis is looking to build on his rookie season. We will discuss what the guys want to see from last year's first-round draft pick. That's next, right after this 1-minute break. We'll keep the field cam up for you.
Told you long ago on the road, I got what you're waiting for.
Introducing Nitro Pepsi. Smooth, creamy, delicious.
Another rock and roll weekend.
Burgers, better with Pepsi.
Welcome back to Command Center Camp coverage presented by the inaugural Commanders Fan Cruise, setting sail in March 2023. Stay tuned for details on how to seize your spot. Well, fans have been active on social media. Here's a look at some of the posts with the hashtag HTTC. We love you coming out here supporting the team as it is our first year with the Commanders. Make sure you show your support. Hopefully you're out here, and if not, of course, we have you covered every day. We'll be bringing this show to you to make sure that you are in touch with your favorite team as we get ready for the new season. It is time now for today's Fresh Takes presented by Safeway, the official supermarket of the Washington Commanders. And here's team reporter Zach Selby.
Hello and welcome into Camping Out with Zach Selby. This is where you get the most recent and up-to-date conversations about your Commanders team as they go through training camp. I got the chance to talk to two of our beat reporters today. One, John Keim from ESPN, and Ethan Cadeau from NBC Sports Washington. Let's go check out what they had to say. Linebacker, obviously a position that has been gotten a lot of attention. They didn't really bring anybody out there. Could bring a veteran maybe sometime in the next couple weeks, but we don't know yet. What about Jamin and Cole? Do you think they're going to step up and take that role that people expect them to?
Well, I think they have to because there are no other choices. I would expect them to bring another veteran in at some point, somebody who probably knows the defense. Yep. But for now, what you have to see is can Cole Holcomb not just know his spot, but then be able to communicate it to Jamin what he has to do and then react lickety-split. I think with Jamin, you've got to see the progression. He needs to be on the field more because if he's not, is that a sign that he's not progressing and they're not getting out of him what they need or what? Because he's a first-round pick. He's got to be on the field more. And already today, you see some things you got to learn in coverage about in this coverage, you have this responsibility. How do you do with that? I thought he started to show some good things toward the end of the year, especially in coverage. But again, it's instincts. And I think, with him, there was an adjustment coming out of college. The way they asked them to read in college versus here is dramatically different. But this is a big year for him. Just take that progression and be a more consistent contributor.
What do you think about Terry? He doesn't look any different than what you would expect, right?
No, he looks great. It's the best quarterback I think he's had in his career so far, so I'm expecting a big year for him, especially after he got paid. So excited for him.
You know, and obviously he has a new quarterback throwing to him in Carson Wentz. He's already kind of aired it out a couple times. One of them was to a really nice grab to Terry. I mean, what are you expecting out of Carson? That's kind of a little bit of a loaded question, but like, what do you see?
I'm expecting him to come out slinging it like this. I mean, I feel like Carson has something to prove. He has a chip on his shoulder and third team in 3 years, but I think he's really determined to make it work here. So I'm really excited to see what 11 has in store for us.
You gotta love it. Camping out with Selby.
Yeah,
I
cool,
like that.
yeah.
You know, look, Selby is a baker. I don't know if he's going to be grilling some hamburgers or hot dogs, but he is a good baker, folks. Okay, let's talk about some of these storylines that they were talking about here. And I want to start with John Keim talking about how Jamin Davis, look, he didn't have the season you wanted, expected, had, kind of tried to adjust to the scheme, what's asked of him. Felt a little bit better being more on the outside there. What do you need to see from him as he kind of hopefully gets a little bit more adjusted to the NFL?
I think with him, it's just a confidence thing and a reps thing, right? I think he's a guy that didn't play a ton of football in college, and I think now he's here, and he just needs reps, needs time on task. And he wasn't playing against overly complicated schemes in college. Yeah. And the NFL offenses are complex. They show the linebackers a lot of stuff. So I think that's it. Just get him more time on task, get him in a position where he's comfortable on the outside. I think that's the key for him.
Yeah, and one of the things that stand out to me is that regardless of what he showed last year, every year is a new year. You know what I mean? We can't write him off. We won't write him off because we know, and I've been in those shoes, I know my situation was a lot different, but your first year doesn't always pan out to be what the team or what you expected. So I'm pretty sure he went home with that, and he had the chance to this whole entire offseason say, I got to build and grow and progress so I can be the player that they expect me to be.
And you mentioned him we're talking about him being more on the outside a little bit. So Cole Holcomb has taken over the mic, and he's relishing this. Like, when you talk to him, he's excited. He feels like he's starting to get a good grasp of this. I know last year when I would chat with him, he's like, it was a lot because there's a lot expected of that mic position, trying to get himself in line, trying to make sure that Jamin's in line and calling all the different defenses. How has he grown in that position, and is this basically his for the year?
I mean, I think so, because right now there's nobody else, and you're not going to be able to find a better linebacker in free agency at the moment to fill his shoes. So I think he's the guy, and he's got to make it work. And I think you feel good about him because he's a tremendous athlete. I think he's a smart kid, and he's passionate about football, and that's what you need at that spot.
I love it. Any guy who can sport a mohawk or a mullet,
mullet,
what I mean?
Power mullet.
I want him leading my defense. I want to put him dead smack in the middle and let him go to work. And he's just a football player, though. When you watch the guy, I remember how once we talked about him his rookie season, and we was like, oh, this guy can't cover, this guy can't do much. And he came back the next year and said, okay, I'm going to improve here. I'm going to improve here. And now he's the guy. He's the guy that we're going to look at as our London Fletcher. So I'm looking forward to seeing his progression this year. I'm looking forward to seeing him taking on that role. But I just know when you watch this guy play football, he flies around and he's putting a hat on hat. They kind of change it these days. You got to put your face on it. Can't put that hat on him. But he shows up to the party every time.
Yeah, he's a grinder, he's a worker, and he's doing everything he can to make sure that he solidifies that mic position. Talking about Carson Wentz, there's a lot of excitement for her coming out here, and Ethan Cadeau from NBC Sports Washington was saying he's the best quarterback that Ron Rivera has had, as we've gone through a lot of quarterbacks in just 2 years. Santana, is he?
I want to say yes. I don't want to, dismiss Alex Smith. I think he did a tremendous job with, at default, dealing with his leg and everything. But when you look at what Carson has put together through his short career, like I said before, we can talk about some of the things he haven't done well, but he still grades out to be that top 10, top 15 quarterback in this league, and that's big. Hit some guys out there that's slinging the ball, putting up some big numbers, and he's there. So I think being here, with Ron, they're going to kind of mold him and put him in the situations that they want to put him in so he can be that guy that he wants in Philly.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think there's no doubt in my mind that he's the most physically talented quarterback that's been here under Rod Senior. And, there's more that goes into playing quarterback than just physical skill set, but he's got it. And at least that gets you started with something. And hopefully you can refine some of those decision-making things, how he performs under pressure, all those things. But physically, nobody better.
They brought him here because they were betting on when he was healthy, the season that he had, the potential, the capabilities of what he was able to do. Of course, he has to stay healthy. I think that is the biggest thing we all know when it comes to the quarterback position. You got to keep him upright. So a lot of pressure on those O-linemen to keep him upright. Hey, folks, that's going to do it for this show. But we are coming to you every single day of camp through Monday through Friday. So make sure you join us. It's on YouTube. We'll be bringing it for you. And then Friday the 5th, August 5th, we will have another live show coming up at 9 a.m. on all of our social platforms. August 6th, you can come join everybody at FedEx Field. Make sure you are there for that as well. The season is officially up, and that's going to do it for this show. Thanks for joining Santana, Logan, and myself. We'll see you again tomorrow.